Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Fire Force Season 2, Episode 14. Okay, so obviously the first major thing to talk about is the new opening, and full disclosure, like many others, I've already watched it from basically it being leaked on Twitter, so I wasn't really shocked or surprised, but one thing I can say is that don't get me wrong, for as much as I've liked all the openings we've gotten so far, this one feels the closest to capturing the same kind of energy and just overall hype I've felt from watching the first season one opening, both in visuals and soundtrack. Which I do admit, on a technical level, there are moments where both those things feel like they're playing catch up with each other. But yeah, just overall this is the most in a word, this is the most fire opening. This is the most fire opening to Fire Force I think we've gotten in a while. This is the first. This is the first one since like I said, this is the first one since like first opening of season one where I've generally started like pretty much rocking in my seat, jumping up and down. Like it's that kind. It's that good. It's that entertaining. Um, Now the as far as the ending goes, that's I would admit that that's pretty much also that's probably still the weaker part. Like the ending is fine. It's got a nice cool. It's got a nice pretty much smooth soundtrack to it and whatnot. But uh, I will admit it got a little weird as again much like well, pretty much like the much like the previous ending. The pretty much design work they did of doing this whole like pretty much chibi, this pretty much 3D pretty much chibi route was kind of an odd choice for me. It I won't say it's jarring or anything. It's just weird, very weird. I don't know what to say about that. Um, with that said, let's get into the episode itself. And the episode opens up with a pretty major reveal that at one point that well, pretty much Shinra was admitted to the French Haijima science facility after the fire that killed his mother. And from there, we open up a whole other can of worms that at the time, well, pretty much Shinra had narrowly avoided being used as a lab rat because his Adola burst had awakened after he was released. But also, because of that fact, it basically fueled the French Haijima Corporation to step up their research efforts, which has not only led to the current situation but we see in this episode, but from a certain point of view, this whole thing is one part indirectly because of this. You could say this whole thing is, of course, indirectly because of Shinra, and another part luck and timing. Like seriously, if you really examine this whole situation, like pretty much Shinra lucked out that his powers only awakened after the fact, but because of that, so many other children have been targeted and used and abused that have been targeted and used and abused since then. So you can't necessarily say it's Shinra's fault, but on a certain level, he is responsible. He is responsible for the current situation as well. Um, I also love how when Licht admits he's been a spy for basically the Haijima Corporation this entire time, everyone just kind of shrugs off and goes, "Yeah, we know. Got anything else to tell us that's actually useful?" Like on its own, it's such a subversion in the sense of saying everyone knows. Can we move on? But it also, but just through the admission, it just ties everything beautifully together and provides the perfect means by which for Shinra to infiltrate the Haijima Corporation. Like everything, it was a subversion, but it also tied the goal beautifully together in such the simplest way. Now, the episode from there gives us a deeper look into the inner workings of Haijima as well, which not only formally introduces us to the man known as from Kurno, the Ashen Reaper, but it shows us just how not only inhumane these experiments have become, but just how sadistic and psychotic the mindset of everyone involved in this process has become. Like these people, like everyone from the scientists scientists to basically people like pretty much Kurano, they've all become just laser focused and just pushing forward with this idea of awakening the Dola burst or a Dola link in these children. And it's like it's one of those things that it not only got very dark very fast, but because of the circumstances and because of what we see in this episode, it just got down. A lot of this just got downright uncomfortable to watch, just from like seeing these kids go through all this, and it's not just from the physical abuse either, but there is a genuine element of emotional abuse where you see these kids' minds almost kind of getting warped in a way, and just in general how they're being treated, that more often than not made this episode like hard to watch for me. Like I didn't. There are so many moments within this. There's so many times in this episode I kind of had to pause it in certain moments before continuing to watch it. Like it was so genuinely uncomfortable to watch, and it pretty much sent such a shiver down my spine that it's like. So in that sense, you could say it did a good job in showing us just how far into the depths of madness that the Haijima Corporation has fallen to, as to go so far as employing one of their former patients as an enforcer in order to help with their experiments too. Like that in itself is an even more insane reveal that basically Kurano was once a patient here, just like Shinra. But now he's basically an enforcer who's helping them with their experiments. Like that, again, there is so much there's such a twisted vibe and mentality to this. There's such a revealing yet twisted vibe to this whole episode that makes this is just purely uncomfortable to watch. I don't know how else to say it. It's just this whole shit is. Just the first episode that we've gotten a glimpse of all this, and it's already gone full blown. The Haijima Corporation has already been revealed to be has already revealed itself to be full blown psychotic, honestly. While we're on the topic of Kurano, let's talk about that arm he's got, specifically his power, because he is an example of just how diverse the powers of a Dola can be, and how it's not just limited to fire, but with him basically wielding the power of an infernal in his arm, we can see that he can basically summon volcanic ash, which in some ways is an even more deadly power to have than just simple fire. And because as we see, the ability to control the smoke and ash not only makes things much more versatile, but we basically see how it basically throws during the whole fight between Kurano and Shinra. You see how the use of that ash and smoke, it basically throws Shinra off. Like it doesn't even need to be like a pretty much fatal. Like the power in itself is fatal, but in a different way. It's not like it doesn't cause like direct damage, but it causes like it has a blowback after effect. Like the more that Shinra gets blasted with that ash and that smoke, the more his whole equilibrium and his whole body gets thrown off. So yeah, unless Shinra can basically stop that, he's basically gonna suffocate under all that. And yeah, the art and animation like during this fight between Kurano and Shinra was really insane. I mean, both were overall great in this episode as a whole. But in that fight alone, once Kurano started going all out, is where the art and animation really picked up, and how it showed the creativity that just comes with his name, the Ashen Reaper. Like Kurano in this episode, he showed why he's someone to be feared. I also like how this episode dove more into where Licht as a character is right now, as well as where exactly his loyalties lie at this point. Because as we see from his inner monologue, he's ready and willing to betray everyone he's ever allied with to help the Eighth at this point, which as he said, he sees them as the closest to discovering the truth, and just the fact that he's going that far shows how much conviction he has towards finding the secrets he's been searching for all this time. As and just the fact that but at the same time at this point it's kind of one of those very interesting things to see just how chaotic neutral of a character Licht really is, because as he pretty much said, he's even though he's allying with the Eighth, he's not really a part of them. He's really only using them in order to serve his goals. Like he made that clear in this episode, and it's it's only because the Eighth is the closest to helping him achieve this that he's with them. But it's like, yeah, he really is kind of the definition of a chaotic neutral character. Like he doesn't really have any alliances, but he's willing to use any means necessary in order to shake things up too, in order to get what he wants. So yeah, in that respect, I really do like Lake's character a lot. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Death Knight of MMA, signing off. Later, guys.